Aldrin and Steve Lacy on soprano saxophone. An Apple for Harriet Tubman by Glennet Tilly Turner, illustrated by Susan Peter. In memory of Mrs. Alice Brickler, Mrs. Caroline Rubin, and Mrs. Evelyn Turner, and for Dr. A.D. Breckler, Mrs. Alice Brickler, Mrs. Faye Daniels, Mrs. Billy Bob, and the survivors of Hurricane Katrina, GTT, to my mother and my stepfather, artists Carolyn Heary Beery and Paul Snow Beery. Harriet was born into slavery around the year 1820. Her parents, Ben and Rit Ross, were enslaved on the Broadus plantation in Maryland. Because their parents were the property of Edward Brodus, Harriet and her brothers and sisters belonged to him too, the law said. The slaves had a hard life. They chopped down trees, cleared swamps, tended the tobacco fields, and did all the other jobs on the Brodus plantation. The slaves didn't get paid, and they had to do everything their overseers told them to do. Even children had to work. When Harriet was only 7, Edward Brodus sent her to work for an unkind woman named Miss Susan. One of Harriet's jobs was to sit up all night taking care of Miss Susan's baby so her crying would not wake her mother. If the baby did cry, Miss Susan would whip Harriet. Later on, Harriet worked in the fields. She liked working outdoors where she could feel the fresh breezes, see the sunshine, and watch birds fly free. Picking apples was her favorite outdoor job. Whenever she held a shiny red apple in her hand, she wished, oh, how she wished, she could take a big bite out of it. She longed to know if it tasted as good as it looked. She didn't like the fact that she and the other slaves were expected to pick, wash, and polish these luscious-looking apples, but they were forbidden to eat any. She didn't think it was fair that slaves did all the work and the family in the big house got to eat all the apples. Each day, as Harriet picked and polished apples, she looked for the chance to crunch into one. One day, when the overseer was walking down to the other end of the orchard, she thought, "This is my chance. This is my chance." But just as she was biting deep into a delicious apple, the overseer whirled around and caught her. Angrily, he took out his whip and he lashed Harriet. The whip tore through her clothing and into her flesh. It left scars that lasted the rest of her life. She couldn't fight back or do anything about it then, but she made herself a promise. One day, I am going to be free, and I'm going to have all the apples I want. Years passed, and Harriet married a free man by the name of John Tubman. In 1849, she learned that she might be sold and sent away from her husband and sisters and brothers. Harriet took action. She ran away from the Brodus plantation. She walked until she reached a safe house, a place where she knew members of the Underground Railroad would help her. The Underground Railroad was not a railroad, but it was a group of black and white men and women who took great risks to help people escape from slavery. Then, through dense forests and chilly swamps, she followed the North Star toward the north and freedom. She was always on the lookout for slave hunters and their bloodhound dogs. Later, Harriet was hidden in a farm wagon and taken to another safe house. Finally, she reached the Delaware Bay in the state of Delaware. A boatman helped her cross to the New Jersey shore. From there, she made her way to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here in the north, she was free, just as she had promised herself that she would be. But Harriet was not happy living in freedom while her family was still enslaved. She went to work as a maid and a cook. She saved her money and went back again and again to Maryland to free her family and to lead many other people out of slavery. It was extremely dangerous for Harriet to do this. There was a huge reward for her capture. The slaveholders were very angry that she had become an Underground Railroad conductor, guiding other slaves to freedom. But Harriet and her passengers were never caught. In 1869, Harriet bought a house near Auburn, New York. She planted rows of apple trees along the lane that led from the road to her home. It had taken a long time, but she was finally able to keep the second part of the promise she had made to herself. Each fall, when the apples were ripe and ready for the picking, Harriet Tubman had all the apples she could eat, and she invited the townspeople to come and fill their baskets too. Harriet Tubman's apples were a symbol of freedom for everybody to share. Harriet Tubman was the greatest conductor on the Underground Railroad. She made many trips into southern states to free hundreds of enslaved Africans. She was called Moses because she led her people out of bondage. Harriet Tubman used to tell children, learn all you can. No one can take away what you have in your head. If you would like to find out more about her and about the Underground Railroad, many books tell these facts and describe Harriet Tubman's heroism, but very few people know about her love of apples. An apple for Harriet Tubman. This is Brooklyn Blowback TV. We get naked with the truth for children of all ages. And now